Hi, today you're going to learn how to find the area of a trapezoid. We do have another friend along for this journey who will help provide answers and maybe explain some definitions. His name is Stuart, and he likes to scuba dive. Let's see if he can find some interesting places to scuba dive along the way. Okay, in finding the area of a trapezoid, if you were to scan this lesson and maybe predict two things that you would learn about finding the area of a triangle, you are going to hopefully discover a couple of different things. You're going to see how we use the order of operations. Okay, so we're going to say how to use the order of operations. And how to use the dimensions to find the area. So how we use the dimensions of the trapezoid to find the area. Those are the things we're going to learn about. Let's look at a real-life application of finding the area of a trapezoid. Kiana has a bay window in her room. A bay window means it sort of sticks out from the front. The window seat is in the shape of a trapezoid. Sometimes you have a seat in front of your window. She needs to measure the seat in order to sew a cushion for the seat. The blue trapezoid in the diagram below represents the dimensions of the window seat. Use the diagram below to describe the relationship between trapezoids and rectangles. So let's look at this. Okay, this is like a rectangle right here, if you were to look around the entire shape, and this is the trapezoid. So let's look at base 1. Okay, base 1 would be this up here for the trapezoid. How many units is it? 1, 2, 3. So we would write 3 here. Base 2 is down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. Okay, so we would write 5 for base 2. The height of the trapezoid is going to be 1, 2, 3. So we would write 3 here. Now let's look at the entire rectangle and see what the length and the width of the rectangle. The length of the rectangle is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The length is 8 and the height is 1, 2, 3 still. Okay, what is the relationship between the measures of the rectangle and the measures of the triangle? Well, you could look at this and try to figure this out. You could say, well, the height is the same. Okay, so the height of the trapezoid and the height of the rectangle are the same. The two bases, if you add them together, would equal the length of the rectangle. So that's something that you could write. So the two bases equal the length of the rectangle. The height is the same. How is the area of a trapezoid related to the area of the rectangle? Well, you should remember the area of the rectangle is length times width, right? Equals length times width, so it would equal 8 times 3, which is 24. Well, what about the triangle? The trapezoid. What would we say about that? That's kind of challenging, isn't it? You could say that there are 2 trapezoids here. If you look, one trapezoid here and one trapezoid here. Two trapezoids make up one rectangle, so the area of the trapezoid should be half of the area of the rectangle. So you can say 2 trapezoids equal a rectangle. So the area of one trapezoid is half of the rectangle. Okay, make sure you've written all of this down, and then when you finish, go ahead and go to your next page. Okay, it's time for our buddy Stuart, scuba-diving squirrel, to join us, and he is going to give you the definition of the area of a trapezoid.
Hi, I'm Stuart, and I like to scuba dive. This place looks pretty cold, though. It's Juneau, Alaska. Anyway, let's get back to those trapezoids we were talking about. Let me tell you the definition for the area of a trapezoid. The area of a trapezoid is 1/2 the product of the height and the sum of the bases.
Stuart. And one way that you can write this is area equals 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. Okay, so let's look at this trapezoid over here. This kind of looks like a bed. You have base 1, base 2, and your height. You would need to multiply. You need to first add the two bases together, because remember with order of operations we would do the parentheses first. Add those together, times that times the height, and then times it by 1/2. Okay, so you can read this for a little bit more help. The trapezoid has two bases, B1 and B2. The height is the distance between the bases, so it'll usually always be marked like this on a diagram with a little h. When finding the area of a trapezoid, it is important to follow the order of operations. In the formula, the bases are to be added before multiplying 1/2 of the height, h. If you are not familiar with what I'm talking about with the order of operations, let me write that down for you, because that is something that we actually learn in Unit 4. So it will come. So some of you who are taking this geometry class in the first semester may not have this yet, but hopefully you've seen it before in other grades. The order of operations can be written P, E, M, or D, A, or S. You might be familiar with PEMDAS, or Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, or Pink Elephants Must Dance and Sing, or Place Evil Monkeys Down a Sewer. Any of the ways that you can remember this would be helpful. But I'm going to just give you this little cheat sheet. P stands for parentheses. We always do those first. E stands for exponents, so like 2 to the 3rd power, we would do that second. Here we multiply or divide whatever comes first, and then we add or subtract whatever comes first from left to right. So when you are solving a trapezoid problem, you would parentheses first, no exponents, then you would multiply times the height and the 1/2. Okay, so that's what you should do always. Let's look at an example. Oops, let's see, I don't want to do that because I don't want to mess up your order of operations there. So let's just move this over here and then look at an example. Okay, let's find the area of this trapezoid. You can see that it has a height of 7, base 1 of 5, base 2 of 12. So plug in all of the information into the formula. So we would write area equals 1/2 times the height times B1 plus B2. So B1 plus B2 is 5 plus 12. The height is 7, and then we multiply by 1/2. So here we have 1/2 times 7 times 17, where we got 17 by adding 5 plus 12. Remember, 1/2 is also equal to 0.5. Remember that from when we did triangles? 1/2 is equal to 0.5 as a decimal. It is much easier to multiply by 0.5 sometimes if you're using your calculator than to multiply by the fraction. The area would be 59.5 square inches. Again, since we're talking about area, the units should be squared. Okay, go ahead and go to your next page as soon as you are ready. Let's do another example. Here we have a trapezoid, and it has a base 1 of 7, a base 2 of 12, and a height of 9.8. Plug everything into your formula, so you write 1/2 times the height, which is 9.8, times the quantity of base 1, which is 7, plus the quantity of 12, which is base 2. The first thing we should do is add 7 plus 12 and get 19. 19 times 9.8 times 1/2. Remember what we said, we can change this 1/2 to 0.5 and simply multiply on our calculator, and we would get 93.1. The area is 93.1 square meters. Now I would like you to try A, B, and C on your own. Please make sure you show your work, and then when you have finished, you may listen to Stuart give you the answers, okay? There really isn't anything tricky about any of these. They're all labeled with the 2 bases and the height, so please try to come up with your best answers here, and then we'll have Stuart come back and give you the right answers. Okay, I hope you did a great job on those 3 problems. Stuart's here again to tell you what the answers were.
Wow, I wasn't kidding. Juneau, Alaska is very cold for scuba diving. I really should have a wetsuit. Anyway, back to those trapezoids. You should have gotten the following answers if you listened really carefully and calculated successfully with the order of operations. For number 1, you should have 100 centimeters squared. For number 2, you should have 14.6 meters squared. And for number 3, you should have 0.225 feet squared. I hope you got them all right.
What you might have done incorrectly. Okay, now it's time to use our algebra skills that we've used before when finding the area of a parallelogram and the area of a triangle. Sometimes we're given the area, but we're missing a piece of the information, like the height or the base. So let's see what we have to do for these. So look at number 3 here. The trapezoid has an area of 108 square feet. Find the height, and we're given the base 1 and base 2. So in this case, you would fill in all your information into the formula. We are missing the height. Now, look at how they got this equation. They have height equals 2a over b1 plus b2. Where did they get that? Because we started out with area equals 1/2 times the height times b1 plus b2. How did we get this height thing over here? That looks really complicated. So let me just show you what we did. In order to figure out what the height is, we need to get height by itself, okay? That's a variable. This is an algebra skill that you will learn in Unit 4, but I'm going to just show you how we discovered this formula. In order to get rid of this sum right here, this is being multiplied. b1 plus b2 is being multiplied by the height. In order to undo multiplication, you divide from both sides. So that would leave us with area over b1 plus b2 equals 1/2 of the height. So, we still want to get height alone. In order to get height alone, what you have to do is multiply by the reciprocal of 1/2. I know this sounds really tricky, but I just want to explain to you what's happening. In order to get that by itself, you multiply both sides of that equation by 2 over 1, because 2 over 1 is the reciprocal of 1/2. Okay, so then we are left with 2a over b1 plus b2 equals the height. Okay, so now that you can see how we figure out what the height is, you can plug the information that you have into this formula, just like we've been doing. So in this case, they told us that the area was 108 square feet. So you would put 108 in here for the A, just like they did. The 2 bases are on the bottom. So then you would have height equals 216, which is 2 times 108, divided by 27, which is 12 plus 15. If you divide that with your calculator, you will get a height of 8. So the height of the trapezoid is 8 feet. Now I find this still just a little bit difficult, so I want to go ahead and do D with you, and then we'll have you do E on your own and check in with Stuart. Okay, so let's just try this on our own. Let me just kind of move this around a little bit so we can do this. So in this case, we are told the area equals 24 centimeters squared. Base 1 is 4, base 2 is 12. What is the height? Let's use the formula that we have been given and figure this out. So height equals 2 times the area, which is 24, divided by base 1 plus base 2. Base 1 is 4, base 2 is 12. Now let's solve. H equals 2 times 24, which is 48, divided by 4 plus 12, which is 16. That means that H equals 48 divided by 16, which is 3. So our height would be 3 centimeters. I'd like you to do E on your own. I'll have Stuart come back and give you the right answer. Okay? Make sure to use this formula right here. Okay, good luck. Okay, let's check and see what Stuart has to say.
Wow, I've been scuba diving all day in Alaska, and now look, there's a beautiful sunset. I'm going to go for one more dive, but before I do, let me give you the answer to problem E. Hopefully you did a good job with that formula that you were taught. Your answer should have been 6 yards. Bye for now, diving back in.
How Stuart got 6 yards. Please make sure you stop and ask your teacher at this point. Go ahead and go to the last page for this lesson, please. Okay, we have kind of a real-world example here. The shape of Osceola County, Florida resembles a trapezoid. You can see that here. Find the approximate area of this county. Remember, approximate means sort of not exact. It can be an estimate. So it says area equals 1/2 times the height times B1 plus B2. Well, we have B1 is 16, B2 is 48. Our height is 51. I'm not sure why we have to do approximate, maybe because they just don't want to have a decimal. But so you would add 48 plus 16 and get 64. Take 64 times 51 and then times it by 1/2, which is 0.5. And then you will get, let's just see, I'm going to get my handy-dandy calculator out right now and do that myself. 0.5 times 51 times 64 equals 1632. So really, I don't know why it's an approximate, because that's exactly the right answer. So you can also see there's a little note right here that says to multiply 1/2 times 51 times 64. It's easier to use the commutative property to reorder the factors in this way, 1/2 times 64 times 51, because 1/2 of 64 is easy, it's 32. That's if you were using the fraction to try to multiply, and the commutative property simply means that you are allowed to switch the order of any number when you multiply or add. It could make it easier for you because mentally we can do 1/2 of 64 very easily. But in this case, you should be using your calculator for these problems for the most part. So you would just plug in the 0.5. Here's what I would like you to do. I would like you to answer the following questions all on your own. Find the area of this trapezoid. This one, you're given the area and the 2 bases, so find the height. Remember our formula for height. I'm going to write it on this page for you again. Height equals 2 times the area over base 1 plus base 2. Number 4, you have a nice real-world example where you are given the goal in a hockey, at a hockey place. And so the goaltenders can play the puck behind the goal line only in a trapezoid-shaped area as shown. Find the area of the trapezoid. They are giving you the base 1, base 2, and the height. So see if you can find that. And then the last thing is, how is the formula for the area of a trapezoid related to the formula for the area of a parallelogram? Tell us what you think is the same or different about those. And then lastly, please rate yourself. Are you ready to move on? Yes, no, or you have a question mark, like you need more help. When you've finished answering the questions and showing your work, please check your answers with Stuart and then show your teacher to show how you've done. Okay, hopefully you've done all your work, rated yourself, and are ready to check your answers. Once you get your answers from Stuart, please highlight any that you have incorrect and work on those with your teacher before you move on. It's always better to have a good understanding of these concepts before you move on to practice.
Wow, I'm still out on my sunset snorkel scuba event, and I realized I had a few more answers to give you. For number 1, you should have 68 meters squared. For number 2, you should have 90.4 feet squared. For number 3, you should have 3 feet. For number 4, 253 feet squared. And for number 5, you might have different answers. Don't forget to rate yourself and show these answers to your teacher before you move on. Bye for now. Great job.
Show these answers to your teacher. Great work on area of a trapezoids. Bye for now.